Ambassador Taemin Park walked slowly through the marble halls of Nexus Prime, his old legs hurt after standing for 6 hours in the council chambers. Behind him, his aide Sora Kim carried a heavy briefcase full of documents that nobody had bothered to read. The Galactic Council meeting had ended badly. Very badly. Tae-Min stopped at the huge window that looked out into space. Thousands of ships floated around the massive station. Ships from every corner of the galaxy. Every species except one had a voice that mattered in the council. "Sir, the transport is ready," Sora said quietly. She was young, maybe 30 years old, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Captain Wu Jin is waiting for us." Tae-Min nodded, but did not move. He had been Earth's ambassador for 23 years. His father had been an ambassador before him. His grandfather had fought in the first wars when humans joined the galaxy 200 years ago. "Do you know what they called us today, Sora?" he asked. "I heard, sir." The Velkari delegate said humans were too aggressive for the High Council. Tae-Min laughed, but there was no joy in it. "Aggressive. After we saved the Centauri colonies from the plague. After we stopped the Rigel War before it started. After we gave them our medical technology for free." He turned away from the window. The vote had been 847 to 1. Only Earth had voted against, giving up the outer human colonies. Every other species in the galaxy thought it was a good idea to use human worlds as shields against some threat from dark space. The walk to the docking bay took 10 minutes. Other ambassadors passed them in the halls. Some looked away. A few nodded politely. The Zephyrian trade minister actually smiled and waved, as if nothing had happened. Captain Wu Jin Lei was waiting by the human transport ship. He was a big man with scars on his hands from his time in the defense fleets. When he saw Taemin's face, he knew the news was bad. "How bad is it, sir?" Wu Jin asked. "They want the outer colonies." "All of them. Kepler, New Sol, the mining worlds near the Crab Nebula. Everything past the inner defense ring." Tae-Min climbed slowly into the ship. "They voted to take them away from us." Sora followed behind him. "The Velkari Empire says they need buffer zones. They say something is coming from dark space, and human worlds should be the first line of defense." Wu Jin's jaw tightened. "Buffer zones. They mean they want our people to die first." The ship lifted off from Nexus Prime and headed toward the jump gate. Through the window, Tae-Min could see the huge council building getting smaller. He had spent most of his adult life in those halls, fighting for human rights, human dignity, human survival. "Sir," Sora said, looking at her data pad, "I have the exact vote count. 847 species voted to enforce the buffer zone mandate. Only Earth voted against it. Even our allies?" Tae-Min asked. The Altarians abstained. The vegan free world said they understood our position, but had to think of galactic security. Tae-Min closed his eyes. The Altarians had been human allies for 50 years. Human doctors had saved their homeworld from a genetic plague. Human engineers had built their first starships. When the vote mattered, they chose to do nothing. The ship jumped to hyperspace. The stars stretched into lines, then disappeared. They were heading home to Earth, but Tae-Min was not sure what home meant anymore. "Captain Wu Jin," Tae-Min said, "send a message to Earth. Tell them to call an emergency session of the Colonial Authority. Tell them to wake up President Hyen Wu if they have to." "What should I tell them the message is about, sir?" Tae-Min was quiet for a long time. Outside, hyperspace flowed like a river of light. He thought about his grandfather, who had died fighting aliens who wanted to enslave humanity. He thought about his father, who had helped write the first human alien treaties. He thought about his own children, who might never see the outer colonies again. Tell them it's about dignity. he said finally. The trip to Earth took 3 days. During that time, Tae-min wrote his report. He wrote about 200 years of human service to the galaxy. He wrote about the wars humans had fought for other species. He wrote about the technology humans had shared freely. He wrote about the colonies humans had built with their own blood and sweat. He also wrote about the vote, 847 to 1. When they reached Earth, the blue planet looked the same as always. But everything had changed. The emergency session of the Colonial Authority was already meeting. Representatives from all 847 human worlds were connected by quantum communication. Tae-min stood before the assembly. Behind him, a huge screen showed the vote count from Nexus Prime, 847 to 1. For 200 years, he began, humanity has been a member of the Galactic Council. We have fought their wars. We have shared our knowledge. We have built prosperity for everyone. The assembly was completely quiet. Today, the Council voted to take our outer colonies. They want to use our worlds and our people as shields. They want human families to die first so alien families can live safely. Someone in the back shouted an angry word. Others joined in. The noise grew louder. Tae-min raised his hand for silence. The Council says we are too aggressive to have a real voice in galactic government. They say we cannot be trusted with power, but they trust us to die for them. He paused and looked around the room. These were good people, farmers and miners and teachers and doctors, people who had built new worlds with their own hands. I have been your voice in the galaxy for 23 years. Today, I am ashamed of what I have to tell you. We are not equal members of this galactic community. We are servants. We are tools to be used and thrown away. The room was quiet again, so I ask you to make a choice. Do we give up our colonies and hope the galaxy will protect us? Do we accept that human lives matter less than alien lives? Tae-min straightened his shoulders. His voice grew stronger. Or do we remember who we are? Do we remember that humans bow to no one? Do we show the galaxy what happens when they push too hard? The vote was unanimous. All 847 human worlds agreed. Tae-min sent one final message to Nexus Prime. It was short and simple. For 2 centuries, we have played by your rules, fought your wars, and built your prosperity. You want Earth's protection, but refuse us a voice. Very well. Humanity withdraws from the Galactic Council, effective immediately. The galaxy would never be the same. Sujin Kong sat in her observation post on Luna Station, watching the galaxy burn. The massive screens around her showed star maps with red warning lights spreading like a disease. 18 months had passed since humanity left the Galactic Council. 18 months of watching everything fall apart. Another system has gone dark, reported Dong-min Choi from his intelligence station. He was a thin man with sharp eyes who had spent 20 years tracking alien activities. The Rigel sector just lost all communication. Su-jin nodded sadly. She had been the chief trade coordinator for human-alien commerce before the withdrawal. She knew every trade route, every supply chain, every economic connection in the galaxy. She had watched them all collapse one by one. What about the defense networks? She asked. 40% failure rate, Dong-min replied. Without human technicians, the orbital platforms are shutting down. The aliens cannot fix them. They do not understand how they work. At another station, Bo-ra Shin was monitoring alien communication channels. She was young, maybe 25, with the kind of hearing that could pick out whispers in a storm. Her job was to listen to the galaxy's pain. Su-jin, you need to hear this, Bo-ra said. It is from the Centauri colonies. The message crackled with static. A desperate voice spoke in broken galactic standard. This is Colony Administrator Vex 9 of Centauri Prime. We are under attack by unknown ships. Our defense grid is offline. Human technicians were the only ones who knew how to repair it. Please, anyone, we need help. Su Jin closed her eyes. She remembered visiting Centauri Prime 5 years ago. Beautiful blue oceans, floating cities, happy families. The colonists there had been saved by human medical technology when a plague nearly wiped them out. Are we responding to any distress calls? She asked. Dong-Min shook his head. Director Chong's orders are clear. Complete isolation. No contact with alien governments. More reports came in throughout the day. The Zephyrian Trade Union had lost 60% of their cargo fleet to pirates. Without human escort ships, the trade routes were too dangerous to use. The Altarian Republic was facing food shortages because their agricultural planets could not get supplies. But the worst news was about the Thrakari hive. The hive is moving fast, Dong-Min reported. They have taken 12 systems in the past month. No one can stop them. Su Jin pulled up the tactical display. The Thrakari were an old enemy, a species that conquered worlds by eating everything. On them, for 50 years, human fleets had kept them contained in their home sector. Now, with humans gone, they were spreading like locusts. What about the Galactic Defense Force? Su Jin asked. What is left of it? Dong-Min said bitterly. Half their ships were human-built. The other half depended on human tactical systems. They cannot fight a coordinated war anymore. Biora suddenly looked up from her station. I am getting reports about the dark space threat. The thing the Council was so worried about. What kind of reports? Multiple sightings near the galactic rim. Ships made of crystal. They seemed to eat energy. First contact was ... bad. Su Jin walked to the main display. A new section of the galaxy map was flashing red. The outer rim, where the first human colonies used to be, where the Council had wanted to create buffer zones. Show me the first contact report, she ordered. Bora's fingers moved quickly over her controls. A recording appeared on screen. It was from a Velkari patrol ship. This is Captain Mortek of the warship Bright Claw. We have encountered unknown vessels at grid reference 445 Alpha. They appear to be made of living crystal. They are not responding to communication attempts. They are draining our ship's power. All systems failing. Send help. Send. The recording cut to static. When was this? Su Jin asked. 3 days ago. There have been 6 more encounters. Since then, all ships lost. Su Jin stared at the map. The crystal ships were appearing exactly where human colonies used to be. The Council had wanted those worlds as shields. Now there was nothing to stop the invasion. Days passed. The reports got worse. The crystal entities moved through space like sharks through water. They consumed energy from anything they touched. Planets went dark. Space stations went cold. Entire systems became lifeless. The Galactic Council sent emergency messages to every known species. They needed help. They needed ships. They needed someone who could fight these things. Su Jin, Baora called. You need to hear this. It is from Nexus Prime. The message was from the Council President, a Zephyrian named High Chancellor Vikmore. His voice was shaking. To all member species of the Galactic Council, we face extinction. The crystal entities from dark space have consumed 17 systems. Our fleets cannot stop them. We have lost contact with 40% of our member worlds. The message paused. Su Jin could hear other voices in the background, arguing in different alien languages. We ... We formally request that humanity reconsider its withdrawal from the Council. We offer immediate reinstatement, permanent seats on the High Council, and full territorial rights to all former human colonies. Su Jin almost laughed. Too little. Too late. The message continued. We understand that past decisions may have been ... hasty. We are prepared to negotiate new terms that recognize humanity's vital contributions to galactic security. Dongmin looked up from his station. They are scared. They should be, Sujin replied. Look at these casualty reports. The numbers were staggering. Billions of aliens dead. Hundreds of worlds evacuated. The crystal entities were not just conquering. They were consuming everything. Matter, energy, life itself. More messages arrived from different species. The proud Velkari Empire, which had demanded human colonies as buffers, was down to 3 functioning worlds. The Thrakari hive, which had been spreading across the galaxy, had been completely wiped out in just 2 weeks. The irony, Dongmin said quietly, is that the crystal things are attacking from exactly where the Council wanted human colonies to be shields. Ba-er nodded. If the outer colonies were still there, with human defense systems, they might have stopped this invasion before it started. Sujin watched the red zones spread across the galaxy map. Each red dot was a dead system. Each flashing light was a world under attack. The civilization that had rejected humanity was dying. Are we getting any direct requests? She asked. Hundreds. Biora replied. Personal messages from alien leaders. Some are offering their entire treasuries for human help. Others are just begging. What about from our old allies? Biora's face went dark. The Altarian Republic sent a message this morning. They want to know if their children can evacuate to human space. The same Altarians who abstained when we needed their support? The same ones. Sujin walked to the window. Outside, she could see Earth spinning slowly in the darkness. Safe. Behind the energy barrier that protected the Sol system. The barrier that no alien ship could cross. Ma'am, Dongmin said, I am picking up massive energy signatures near the galactic core. The crystal entities are heading for the most populated systems. How long until they reach the core worlds? At their current speed? 6 months. Sujin did the math in her head. 6 months until the heart of galactic civilization was consumed. 6 months until trillions of aliens died. 6 months until the galaxy became a graveyard. Any word from Director Chang? She asked. He is monitoring the situation. No orders to change our isolation policy. Sujin nodded. She understood the director's position. The galaxy had made its choice. Now it had to live with the consequences. But late at night, when the reports were filed and the stations were quiet, Sujin would look out at the stars and think about the children. Alien children who had never voted to exclude humanity. Children who just wanted to live. The galaxy was learning a hard lesson about consequences. But the price of that lesson might be everything. Seogjin Ryu sat in his small garden on the outskirts of New Geneva City. The old ambassador was planting tomatoes when the first emergency signal reached Earth. 2 years had passed since he delivered humanity's final words to the Galactic Council. 2 years of blessed silence. The communication device in his pocket buzzed. He ignored it. These days, Seogjin preferred dirt under his fingernails to diplomatic protocols. The tomatoes did not lie or betray trust. They just grew. But the buzzing would not stop. What is it, old friend? He said to the device, pulling it out reluctantly. The message was from Hei Wen-chun, the coordinator of Sol System Defense. Her face appeared on the tiny screen, tired and worried. Seogjin, we need you at the command center. The aliens are trying to break through the barrier. Seogjin sighed and brushed dirt from his hands. How many ships? Thousands. From every species in the galaxy. They are not attacking. They are begging. 20 minutes later, Seogjin stood in the defense command center. Through the massive windows, he could see space filled with alien ships. Velkari warships, Zephyrian cargo vessels, Altarian passenger liners. all of them sitting just outside the energy barrier that protected Sol system. How long had they been there? Seo Jin asked. 3 days, replied Hei-Wan. She was a practical woman in her 40s who had spent her life building defenses. They started arriving after the Centauri systems fell to the crystal entities. Are they trying to force their way in? No, they are just waiting and sending messages. Lots of messages. Hei-Wan led him to a communication station operated by In-Su Park, a civilian leader who had always believed in human isolation. In-Su looked uncomfortable as he scrolled through hundreds of alien transmissions. Show him the first one, Hei-Wan said. In-Su pressed a button. A hologram appeared showing a Velkari admiral. His scales were gray with stress, and his proud bearing was gone. To the humans of Earth, the admiral began. I am Fleet Admiral Geek-Sor of the Velkari Empire. I was present when the council voted to take your colonies. I voted yes. The admiral paused, as if the words were painful. The crystal entities have consumed our homeworld. Velkaris is gone. My people are dying. We have nowhere else to go. I know we have no right to ask, but ... please. We need sanctuary. The hologram ended. In-Su pressed another button. To humanity, said a Zephyrian trade minister, our economic networks have collapsed. Our trade routes are gone. Pirates control the shipping lanes. We offer you everything, our technology, our resources, our loyalty. Just let our families survive. Another message. Human friends, pleaded an Altarian diplomat. We know we failed. You, when you needed support, we were cowards. But our children are innocent. They never voted against you. Please do not let them die for our mistakes. Seo Jin listened to message after message. Proud species that had once looked down on humanity were now desperate refugees. The mighty Galactic Council had become a collection of beggars. How many ships are out there? He asked. Over 8,000, Hei-Wan replied, representing maybe 50 million refugees. All the major species are here, plus dozens of smaller ones. What about the council leadership? In-Su's face darkened. High Chancellor Vic Moore arrived yesterday. He is requesting a formal audience with our government. Seo Jin almost laughed. The same chancellor who called humans too aggressive for civilized society? The same one. He brought gifts. Rare metals, advanced technology, cultural artifacts. Things his people consider priceless. And what does our government say? Director Chong refuses all contact. His orders are clear. Complete isolation until further notice. Seo Jin walked to the observation deck. Outside, the alien fleet waited in silent formation. He could see families pressed against the windows of passenger ships. Children who had never seen their homeworlds. Parents who might never see them again. Seo Jin, Hei-Wan said quietly, joining him at the window. Some of these species helped us in the early days. The Altarians shared their medical knowledge. The Centaurians gave us star maps when we first left Earth. And when we needed them most, they abandoned us. I know, but Seo Jin understood her feelings. It was hard to watch suffering, even when the sufferers had brought it on themselves. Humans were not a cruel species. Revenge was not in their nature. A new alarm sounded. In-Su called from his station. We have an emergency transmission. It is from a child. The hologram showed a young Thrakari, maybe 10 years old, the species that had been humanity's enemies for decades. Her large black eyes were filled with tears. My name is Cassara, the child said in broken galactic standard. My family is on a refugee ship near your sun. We escaped when the crystal things ate our colony. My mother says humans are the only ones who can stop the bad things. She says you are very strong and very smart. The child paused, wiping her nose. with a small hand. I know Thrakari people fought humans before. I know we were mean to you, but I never hurt anyone. I just want my family to be safe. Please help us. Please do not let the crystal things eat everyone. The message ended. The command center was completely silent. How many children are on those ships? Seokjin asked. Maybe 15 million. Hei-1 replied softly. Seo Kajin closed his eyes. 15 million children. Children who had no voice in the council vote. Children who just wanted to live. Any word from the outer systems about the crystal entities? He asked. Insu nodded grimly. They consumed the Rigel sector yesterday. 12 billion people. Gone in 6 hours. At their current rate, they will reach the galactic core in 3 months. What about the Galactic Defense Force? What is left of it retreated to the Vega system. Maybe 10,000 ships total. They estimate they can hold the entities for 2 weeks at most. Seokjin thought about the numbers. Trillions of aliens were going to die. The crystal entities would consume the entire galaxy unless someone stopped them. And the only force capable of fighting them was sitting safely behind Earth's barrier, growing tomatoes. Has anyone analyzed what these crystal things actually are? He asked. Our scientists have been studying the reports, Hei-1 said. They think the entities are some kind of energy-based life form. They feed on power sources, engines, reactors, even biological energy. Once they drain a system, they move to the next one. Can they be stopped? Theoretically, yes. But it would take advanced weapons and coordinated tactics. The kind of military capability that only humans have developed, Seokjin finished. Another alarm sounded. This time it was a priority message from Earth's government. Director Chung's face appeared on the main screen. Citizens of Earth, Chung began. For 2 years, we have maintained isolation from galactic affairs. We have watched from safety as the galaxy faces the consequences of its choices. The director paused, looking directly at the camera. Today, I received a message that changes everything. A single transmission from a child asking why we will not help them. This message has spread across our communication networks. It has reached every human family on Earth and in our orbital habitats. Chang's expression softened slightly. Humanity faces a choice. We can remain safe behind our barriers while trillions die. Or we can remember who we are. We can remember that our strength was never in our weapons or our technology. Our strength was always in our humanity. The transmission ended. Seok-Jin looked out at the alien fleet. Somewhere in those ships, a young Thrakari child was waiting for an answer. The same child whose message was about to change the fate of the galaxy. Hei-1, he said quietly. I think our isolation is about to end. Ji Taesong stood before the largest gathering in human history. Every orbital habitat around Earth was connected by quantum link. Every human colony ship carried the feed. 7 billion people were watching as their leader prepared to make the most important decision in galactic history. Behind Ji sat the Emergency Council. Young A. Lim, the brilliant military strategist who had planned humanity's defenses. Kyung Ho Bae, the philosopher whose words had guided human ethics for decades. And old Ta Min Park, the ambassador whose final speech had started it all. Citizens of humanity, Ji Tae began. His voice was calm, but his hands shook slightly. For 3 days, we have debated our response to the galactic crisis. For 3 days, we have argued about duty, revenge, and justice. Today, we choose. The debate had been fierce. Millions of humans had sent messages to the government. Some wanted revenge for centuries of alien arrogance. Others demanded that humanity help the innocent. The vote had been closer than anyone expected. Young Gae stood and walked to the tactical display. She was a small woman with sharp eyes who could see patterns others missed. The holographic galaxy spun slowly, showing the spread of crystal entities in angry red. "The military situation is clear," she said. "The crystal entities have consumed 40% of the galaxy. They move in coordinated swarms, draining energy from everything they touch. Current galactic forces cannot stop them. Red zones pulsed across the display. Dead systems. Empty space where civilizations used to live. However," Young A continued, "our analysis shows these entities have weaknesses. They rely on energy absorption. Weapons that disrupt their molecular structure could destroy them. We have developed such weapons." Kyung-ho Bae rose from his chair. He was an old man with white hair and kind eyes. For 50 years, he had taught humans about moral choices. "The strategic question is simple," he said quietly. "Can we win?" Young A says yes. "The moral question is harder. Should we win it for them?" G.I.T. nodded to the communication officer. "Show them the message again." The young Thrakari child appeared. On screen, her words echoed through every human habitat. "Please help us. Please do not let the crystal things eat everyone." The transmission had changed everything. Within hours of its broadcast, human families across the solar system had begun sending supplies to the refugee camps. Children had drawn pictures for alien children. Parents had offered to adopt orphaned aliens. "The aliens rejected us," G.I.T. said. "They took our help for 200 years, then denied us equality when we asked for it. They voted to sacrifice our colonies. They called us too aggressive for civilized society." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly. "But this child never voted against us. She never called us names or demanded our worlds. She is just scared and asking for help." G.I.T. walked to the center of the chamber. "I have read every message you sent. I have listened to every argument. Some of you want to let the galaxy burn. You say it is justice for how they treated us. Others want to help immediately. You say innocent lives matter more than politics." The chamber was completely silent. Both sides are right. The galaxy does deserve consequences for its choices. And innocent lives do matter more than politics. So we will do both. Young Eye activated. The tactical display again. This time it showed human fleet positions. "Phase 1 begins now," G.I.T. announced. "The soul barrier will be lowered. Refugee ships will be allowed to enter human space. We will provide food, medical care, and shelter to anyone who needs it." Cheers erupted from some sections of the assembly. Others remained quiet. "Phase 2, G.I.T. continued, begins in 72 hours. The human Commonwealth fleet will deploy to engage the crystal entities. We will destroy them completely." Young A manipulated the display, showing fleet movements. Operation Starlight will use 300,000 ships in the first wave. Admiral Jin Ho will command from the flagship New Earth. The numbers were staggering. The hidden human fleet was larger than anyone had imagined. "But," G.I.T. said, raising his hand for silence, "humanity will not rejoin the Galactic Council. We will not return to our old colonies. We will not go back to being servants in someone else's empire." Kyung-ho stepped forward. "Instead, we offer something new. The human Commonwealth will be open to any species that accepts true equality. No superior races, no servant species. Just equals working together. What about the old council?" Someone called from the assembly. G.I.T.'s expression hardened. "The Galactic Council voted to take our worlds and use our people as shields. That council is dead to us. If the surviving species want to join something better, they are welcome. If they want to rebuild their old system of masters and servants, they can do it without us." The vote was called. 7 billion humans made their choice. The result was overwhelming. 85% approved the plan. Within hours, the soul barrier flickered and died. Alien refugee ships rushed toward Earth like water through a broken dam. Human rescue vessels met them at the system's edge, providing food and medical care to families who had been running for months. Young Cassera, the Thrakari child whose message had changed everything, was among the first to be brought aboard. A human hospital ship. When she saw the human doctor, she began to cry. "Are you going to help us?" she asked. The doctor knelt down and smiled. "Yes, little one. We are going to help everyone." 72 hours later, the largest fleet in galactic history jumped to hyperspace. 300,000 human ships, armed with weapons the galaxy had never seen. Admiral Jinho commanded from the bridge of New Earth, a ship the size of a small moon. The first battle took place in the Vega system, where the remnants of the Galactic Defense Force were making their last stand. The crystal entities had surrounded the system, preparing to consume the final military stronghold. The human fleet arrived like thunder. Young A's new weapons worked perfectly. Quantum disruptor cannons tore apart the crystal entities at the molecular level. Gravitational pulse bombs crushed entire swarms. Energy drain fields turned the entity's own feeding ability against them. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, not a single crystal entity remained in the Vega system. Admiral Gexor, the Velkari commander who had begged for sanctuary, watched the human victory from his refugee ship orbiting Earth. He had never seen anything like it. "They fight like legends," he whispered to his aide. The human fleet did not stop. System by system, they hunted down every crystal entity in the galaxy. The campaign took 4 months. When it ended, the crystal threat was completely eliminated. But the galaxy that remained was very different from the one that had rejected humanity. The old Galactic Council was gone. Most of its member species had joined the human Commonwealth, accepting equality over the old hierarchies. The few species that refused to change found themselves isolated and ignored Dachi stood once again before the human assembly. But this time he was not alone. Beside him stood representatives from 47 species. All equals, all partners in something new. "The galaxy pushed us too hard," he said. "They forced us to leave their table. So we built a better table, one with room for everyone who believes in equality." He looked out at the diverse crowd before him. "Welcome to the human Commonwealth. Welcome to the future." In her new home on Luna Station, young Cassera was learning to speak human standard. Her teacher was a human child named Minho, who had insisted that every alien child should have a human friend. "Why did your people help us?" Cassera asked one day. "We were mean to humans before." Minho thought for a moment. "My mom says it is because we are human. We help people who need help. That is what humans do." The galaxy had learned a hard lesson about consequences. But in the end, humanity had shown them something more powerful than revenge. They had shown them mercy, and that had made all the difference. Tae-Ho walked into the council chambers that morning expecting another boring day of trade agreements and border disputes. The tall Zephyrian had been attending these meetings for over 20 years, and they were always the same. Different species, arguing about mining rights, shipping routes, and who could settle which planets. But something felt wrong the moment he stepped through the doors. The human section was empty. Not just a few missing delegates, completely empty. Every single seat that should have held a human diplomat sat vacant. Their name plates were still there, their computer terminals still glowing softly, but no humans anywhere. Tae-Ho looked around the massive chamber. Representatives from 47 different species filled their assigned areas, chattering in dozens of languages through universal translators. The bird-like Altarians preened their feathers nervously. The crystalline Zephyrians like himself. hummed in low frequencies. The gas-formed nebulons flickered between colors as they communicated. Everyone was there except the humans. "Where are the humans today?" Taeho asked Haijin, the communication officer who managed the council's daily operations. She was a small, efficient woman from the Corvan species, known for keeping perfect records of everything. Haijin looked up from her datapad, her large eyes blinking rapidly. "I don't know. They haven't responded to any messages this morning. I've tried reaching Ambassador Chun 3 times, but I only get automated responses." Automated responses? Standard diplomatic. Messages saying they're temporarily unavailable. Nothing personal or specific. Taeho felt a strange chill run through his crystalline body. In 20 years, he had never seen the humans miss a council session without advance notice. They were famous for being reliable, always showing up even when they disagreed with the agenda. As the morning session began, the absence became more obvious. The chamber felt different without human voices joining the debates. When trade disputes arose, everyone looked toward the empty human section, expecting their usual practical suggestions. When territorial arguments started heating up, delegates glanced at the vacant seats where human mediators normally sat by lunch break. Word had spread throughout the council complex. The humans weren't just missing from the main chamber. They were gone from everywhere. The human embassy buildings stood empty. Their trade offices had closed overnight. Even the small human restaurant on level 7 had locked doors and dark windows. Minsu, the defense minister from Alteria, tried to downplay the situation during his afternoon briefing. His feathers were puffed up with nervous energy as he spoke to the emergency assembly. "This is probably just some internal human matter," he said, his voice carrying the sharp notes typical of his species. "Perhaps they're dealing with a crisis on their home worlds. They'll be back in a few days." But Haijin had been making calls all day, and her findings painted a different picture. She stood up in the chamber, her small form commanding attention despite her size. "I've contacted 47 human facilities across the galaxy," she announced. "Space stations, colony worlds, mining operations, research bases, embassy buildings, trade posts, everything. They're all empty." The chamber fell silent. 47 different species stopped their chatter and stared at her. "Empty how?" asked Biora, the xenosociologist, whose job was understanding how different species behaved. She was Corvan like Haijin, but taller and more serious. "Evacuated. Completely. No humans anywhere, but no signs of struggle or emergency. Everything left in perfect order. Food still in refrigerators. Computers still running. Workstations. Organized and clean. It's like they all just walked away at the same time." The silence stretched longer. Then everyone started talking at once. Taeho listened to the chaos of voices, his crystal-formed mind trying to process what this meant. Humans didn't just disappear. They were everywhere in the galaxy, not as conquerors or rulers, but as the people who made things work. They fixed problems, mediated disputes, and kept trade flowing smoothly between species who couldn't always get along. Over the next few hours, reports kept coming in. The picture they painted was impossible, but consistent. Every human transport ship had vanished from the shipping lanes. Cargo vessels that should have been moving goods between star systems were simply gone. The busy trade route between the Alterian colonies and the Zephyrian homeworlds had no human freighters at all. Mining operations across the outer rim had gone silent. These weren't huge operations. Humans preferred smaller, more efficient facilities, but they produced rare minerals that dozens of species needed. Now those facilities sat empty, their machinery turned off, but undamaged. Cultural centers where humans shared their art, music, and food with other species had closed. Overnight, the human district on the cosmopolitan world of New Haven was completely vacant. Streets that usually bustled with human activity were empty but clean, as if the residents had simply evaporated. Most disturbing of all, no one had seen it happen. Security cameras showed normal human activity up until yesterday evening, then nothing. No evacuation ships, no mass exodus, no emergency broadcasts. Humans had been living their normal lives, and then they weren't there anymore. Biora spent the evening reviewing what they knew about human behavior patterns. Her research painted an even stranger picture. They took nothing with them except themselves. She reported to the emergency committee that night. Personal belongings left in homes. Advanced technology left in research facilities. Even their pets were gone, but the pet supplies remained. It's like they intended to come back tomorrow. What about their ships? Asked Minsu. Gone. Every single human vessel has vanished from our tracking systems. Military ships, civilian transports, private craft, research vessels, everything. But here's the strange part. They left behind all the non-human crews who worked on those ships. Teiho felt his crystal form growing colder. What do you mean? Human ships often carried mixed crews. Altarian navigators, Zephyrian engineers, Corvan communication specialists. All those non-human crew members were found safely on various space stations and planets, with no memory of how they got there. They remember working normally yesterday, then waking up this morning in safe locations, with notes thanking them for their service. The room went quiet again. They planned this, whispered Haijin. This wasn't sudden. They carefully made sure no one else would be hurt or stranded. As the artificial night cycle began in the council complex, delegates tried to process what had happened. The humans, reliable, helpful, ever-present humans, had vanished without explanation, taking only themselves and leaving everything else behind like a gift for the rest of the galaxy. But already, small problems were starting to appear. Trade schedules were disrupted. Diplomatic meetings had been postponed. Communication networks that relied on human relay stations were showing gaps. The humans had been gone for less than 1 day, and the galaxy was already beginning to feel their absence.